Amphitheater here at Laurentian University is empty now, concluding 3 days of Canada's first ever international symposium to ask the question, was there a conspiracy to murder John F. Kennedy November the 22nd of 1963?
Yes, there was a conspiracy. Unanimously, yes.
It was a very quick decision-making process.
So there was a pro and con, obviously. It wasn't too much pro-Warren Commission.
Yeah, we did have some discussion to try to debate some of the facts. We have some people who have extensive knowledge, some people who have just a background knowledge, and we try to enlighten them as to, being aware of disinformation, etc. So there was a lot of discussion, but we started off with everybody just saying, hey, let's discuss the verdict first, and we'll discuss why later, and we just went through the verdict rather quickly.
I was unsuccessful in getting a single person who claimed to defend the Warren report to actually come out and put himself on the line. And we did not stack the books. I tried to get somebody here to present the alternative point of view.
Rudder to base, everything looks okay in the back area.
You're looking at an extended security, which means 24 hours a day, and it's everywhere, including around the trailer. If they move anywhere from one site to another, there's always security people with them. Whether or not they are obvious, there's always somebody there.
The autopsy photographs are probably one of the most key elements in this case. The x-rays that we were shown and the photographs certainly do not match the body and what happened. We almost have too much evidence. It's hard to sort out. But certainly I would go against the Warren Commission now and let them show us what they've got, and then let's show us what we have. And let's go on and get this case solved if we can.
We now turn to the documentation of the autopsy, the protocol, and its supporting papers, and the official death certificate. During the autopsy, Oswald noted on the upper half of the single-page mimeographed Navy form autopsy descriptive sheet several weights and measures in the form spaces for numbers, weights, and measurements of the various organs and parts of the body. On the form's lower half are 2 body sketches, back and front for picturing information like where wounds appear. On JFK's back sketch at the approximate level of the 3rd thoracic vertebrae, a little to the right of the spine, Commander Boswell drew a small circle for a bullet wound. In the lower left-hand corner, the official sheet only has the notation, verified G.G. Berkeley, the President's doctor, a Navy admiral present in the autopsy room that night. Here we have 2 medical doctors locating the wound on the back. The Commission obfuscated this document's information by using as its official copy a copy made before Berkeley signed and verified the official sheet, which it then hid in the masses of the archives, in the publishing records, found only by accident by a researcher. The autopsy report places the wound on the neck, but it is a tainted document. The military, with the later full support of the Commission and its staff, carefully controlled the contents of the autopsy report. Without this basic step, Assistant Counsel Arlen Specter and his cohorts could not have manipulated the evidence to pretend to give color at all to the single bullet theory. By Sunday morning, the 24th, Humes had written out a draft of the autopsy report. Fate intervened. Late in the morning, Ruby shot Oswald. This meant there would be no trial and thus no cross-examination of the report. Whereupon Humes burned the holographic draft in his recreational room fireplace, another inconsequential act to Arlen Specter, and beside the point to the commissioners, who sat as neutral spectators when Humes testified he destroyed material evidence. Humes then wrote a second draft. The second handwritten draft he turned into the Navy. Admiral C.B. Calloway, commander of the Navy Medical Center, ordered changes in the draft. Extensive interlinings, changes, and modifications in another hand altered the draft. The final typed copy was entered into evidence as the official autopsy report, but its history is so tainted, its medical facts so corrupted, and several of its features so openly political that little confidence can be placed in it as a reliable indicator of what happened to the President that day in Dallas.
But if you think about it, the 2 greatest wounds in the American psyche are the Kennedy assassination. And I'm speaking now with respect to my generation, when I call it a wound. The young people today are interested. They saw that film. They've heard people go crazy in the media. They don't necessarily have the same mental engram that those of us a little bit older have about that event. And I would argue, I think without any disagreements here, that the Vietnam War functions in much the same way. That the two should now be intersecting is rather explosive.
Well, I suppose that the movie JFK did make it easy for people to say, hey, yes, that's what I've always believed, and not feel that they were a bit of an aberration on the fringe. So Oliver Stone deserves a real vote of our thanks.
When he came out with that movie, he aroused a lot of public into becoming interested in the assassination because of the way that he presented things. And he presented things to the public that most of the public wasn't aware of. Researchers have been aware of it for a long time, but not the majority of the public. And that's what he did.
But let me just say that it was this intersection that moved me to help Stone to become involved in his movie. I knew the firestorm that was going to happen after that movie, and I knew what his thesis was, and I thought about it long and hard. There were a lot of downsides of being involved, not the least of which being a military intelligence officer, which I still am. I'm not retired yet.
Many striking breakthroughs made by investigators and researchers are depicted in JFK. The Sylvia Odio scene is enormously significant and certainly a breakthrough in demonstrating that Oswald was framed. The incident created a dilemma that the Warren Commission failed to resolve. Oswald was being impersonated either at Odio's or in Mexico City. Anthony Summers' interviews of Guy Bannister's secretary, Delphina Roberts, shed much light on the framing of Oswald. One short scene that depicts Bannister's sheep dipping of Oswald is in the director's cut of JFK, and there sheep dipping is defined as a manipulated behavior designed to create a desired result.
That man has never been convicted of a crime except in the journals of the United States and world press.
I don't know what he was, but not as political as you think he was.
So when he went...
He cared for the people who... He loved his country, but I hear him making statements that poor or black people in the country don't have it as good as they should. Or we discussed about if you're not rich, you cannot get the medical attention, or Medicare or something like that. You know, the health service is not provided for everyone, and that's he would like to happen in his country. But that's not out dislike of the country, it's because we love the country.
I'm Joe Schneider from MCTV here in Sudbury, and my question to Mrs. Oswald Porter is just, are you able to lead a normal life now, or do you still constantly think about that day in November?
I have been haunted by November all my life, and I guess that's something I have to learn to live with. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's hard, especially before November. And the things that disturb me the most when you practically insulted by you watch television and there will be comedy shown on, and some remarks about Lee Harvey Oswald or Grassy Knoll like it's a joke, and it's always a reminder of something. But normal was normal for me. I guess it's okay. I wish that didn't happen, but it happened.
Do you feel he was a dupe of the CIA? Was he pro-Castro? Was he anti-Castro?
That's how people was confused about he's pro-Castro, he's things like that. Lee just, I believe that he was recruited in service. I think he loved his country very much. I can swear to you on my grave or whatever you're supposed to do that Lee did love President Kennedy. So I don't think to accuse him of some kind of political statement that he's supposed to be made by acting out what he was accused of, that's absolutely incorrect. I think he did what he had been told, but I don't think he was a communist or leftist or whatever the thing is. He was just a simply young man who maybe was confused, as we all are when we're young, but not in things that you accuse of, that he was a pro-Castro, things like that. He played the role.
Beverly, how many shots did you hear?
The sequence that I heard was bang, 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 ba-boom. And it was the ba-boom that blew his head off.
And Gene, again, if you could repeat what you heard?
4 to 6 shots, and they kept telling me I only heard 3. And they said 4 to 6 is not a number. And I said, well, I think it's closer to 6. But I still continued with the 4 to 6.
Did either of you see a puff of smoke?
Yes.
From the grassy knoll?
And a rifle flash.
I'm just wondering if you recall the feeling that you had towards President Kennedy before the assassination. Was there any animosity among the people of Dallas?
The peons of Dallas didn't have any animosity. The power brokers may have, but I think the majority of the people in and around Dallas were thrilled to death that the President of the United States was coming to Dallas. He had nothing but cheers and good feeling, we thought, all the way from Love Field to the killing field.
This question to both of you. When the shots run out and the crowd, as we see in the number of films that we've seen, start, running across the grass, what was, can you remember what the reaction to both of you was in the crowd in terms of what people felt they heard or what people thought they heard?
Well, I think Beverly will confirm this. There was an instant there that there was no movement, no sound, no movement. It was like a still frame. I think everybody was just paralyzed with the trauma of what had taken place.
I, myself, was absolutely frozen in my steps. If you watch the Zapruder film and slides that have been made, I continued to stand there and film. I could not have moved for a few seconds if my very life had depended on it, and everybody else is around me on the ground, and I'm still standing there like an idiot. I didn't have any choice. I could not move. I was frozen in my, but the thing that I remember is that not a single person ran toward the book depository. Every single person ran toward the grassy knoll, from the policemen to the witnesses. Do you remember seeing anybody run toward the book depository?
No.
So if the shots came from there, why did everybody, including the police officers, run toward the grassy knoll? No one said, hey, the shooter's behind the fence.
That was at that moment that I saw a man who obviously knew what had happened and who had not been traumatized by this, because he was leaving the scene very quickly. And that, of course, when he shot Lee Harvey Oswald on Sunday, I found out that his name was Jack Ruby.
I've been in contact with Larry Crayford, although his real name is Curtis, who worked for Jack Ruby, and for some reason, 24 hours after the assassination, decided to get the hell out of Dallas with $7 in his pocket and hitchhiked all the way to Michigan to his sister's house. He was later interviewed by Bert Griffin. The interview is over 200 pages long. This guy was a flunky nobody who was just working at the Carousel Club, and yet the interview took 3 days. It was held in Washington, D.C., over 200 pages, single-space type. It's the 4th longest interview, almost as long as Marina Oswald's combined testimony. He told me, which he didn't tell the FBI, that he vaguely recalled seeing Oswald at the club. And I think that's why he left. When he saw him on TV being arrested, realized there was a connection to Jack Ruby. Why would he stay in Dallas?
Jack Ruby did not like Jack Kennedy. The only argument that Ruby and I ever verbalized was about Kennedy.
Don't anybody stand face to face with me and tell me that a cheap mafia hood swept with patriotism is going to walk into a defended police station and shoot the only person dead whom the press is already convicting even moments after his arrest. That was not an accident that he got in there. Jack Ruby was part of the plot to destroy the president. The 2 earlier attempts to dispose of Oswald failed. He had to go into the police station, and many of you don't know it. But the night before Ruby killed Mr. Oswald in the police station, he phoned the police station and said he was going to do it, and he said, we don't want anybody else to get hurt. So don't draw your guns and start this crazy shooting business. We're just going to kill Mr. Oswald.
Do you think that we ever will come close to the truth about what happened in November of '63?
To be quite frank with you, I don't think we're going to get to the bottom of it because I don't think they're going to want to admit it. I really had my hopes built up with the last House Select Committee in 1979. But when you realize how the panels are chosen, that they have to sign certificates of non-disclosure, and the fact that they weren't allowed to call the witnesses that we asked them to call, the witnesses they did call, they didn't ask the right questions, and they knew what questions to ask. And the fact that they can suffer penalty of fine and or imprisonment if they disclose anything that went on, and the fact that the FBI and the CIA handpicks and clears whoever has to be on the panel, that's not the way it's going to come out. So my faith has been dashed.
Sure, fine, we've got some sort of a conspiracy, but what is it? I don't think we know. Not for all the work that has been done. I think we're scratching the tip of the iceberg. The reasons for that are systemic, no funding. We lack a lot of expertise in critical areas. We need a lot of qualified people with much more conservative methodologies that have been used.
I tell you what, I've been doing this for 10 years every day, and if I didn't think the facts would finally come out, I'd quit. But I'm not going to give up. Every day I find out something new about the case. It's like a giant jigsaw puzzle, and we're putting all the pieces together, a small piece at a time, sometimes a big piece. But there's so much out there yet, even after 30 years, it's amazing.
The bottom line is, if Lee was guilty and he's no threat to anybody anymore, why not to reveal everything to the people? That's every time they shut the door on my face, that's giving me more answers.
I'd like to read just a short little letter dated 8/1993. Mr. and Mrs. Kenneth Porter, the future of our country is a great concern of mine. I do all I can on my part to give back whatever I take from America. You have given so much to our society. I think it's important that you know that it has made a difference. The other day, in fact, I heard a story that is appropriate for this situation. I would like to share it with you. One day a man walked along the ocean on the beach. He noticed that starfish had washed up on the shore. Without water, they would die quickly. So the man began to reach down and one by one, pick the starfish off the ground, throw them back into the sea, giving each one a new life. He continued to do this for many years. On one morning while he was throwing the starfish, a man approached him. He told the star thrower, there were too many starfish to throw into the sea. It was impossible to throw them all, and it didn't matter what he did. It would never get them all into the water. The star thrower gave the man a strange look and once again began to throw the starfish, saying, it matters to this one. It matters to this one. To the star thrower, even one made a difference. Every time something arises when I don't think I can do it, I remember the star thrower's story. It does make a difference to us and to many other people. Your work and dedication is deeply appreciated and honored. I wish you the best of luck. Sincerely, Stacy Lewis. It matters to him, it matters to her, it matters to me, and it matters to y'all. We need to find out the truth in this case.
I am continually amazed at the younger generation and their inability to swallow the stories they've been fed. And I think we have some real hope coming up for America's future in those children. But I think it's up to us to tell them the facts. They can make up their own mind.
Who will be teaching the assassination to our children in coming generations? Will it be those who have command of the many details of the crime? Or will it be those who seek to maintain the status quo by ignoring the evidence and proposing false sponsors?
Consider for the moment a president at odds with his military for many different reasons. It happened in 1963. Is it happening again now? An angry military establishment in sharp disagreement with their own commander-in-chief. An operation held in April of the first year of the administration of the new president, in which almost 100 people are killed, and there are intelligence organizations that are supposedly running the show. Was that the Bay of Pigs or was that Waco? Is it happening again? We should be on the lookout.
One of my Secret Service men in the car behind. Then comes the Vice President and Mrs. Johnson, Senator Yarborough. Dallas police